Welcome live at Checkered Flag Interactive here for round 1 of 19 for the Rose DW12 series here. The first official race of the regular season. You've got Steve Bonesteel and Evan Pasoko up in the booth. Before we get the action started, we've just got a couple minutes here at the end of qualifying to show you what it's like to go around this technical, fast-paced course.
We are then for a hot lap around the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in Brazil. We are driving the DW12 as we go up towards turn 1. You want to brake just after the 50-meter board, arcing with that car very nicely into turn 1, getting as close as you can to the apex. This will optimise the line for turn 2 as you'll be able to get on the throttle as soon as possible as you want to power through turn 3. Turn 3 to 4 could really be an optimal overtaking opportunity in the race because obviously the drivers have pushed past to their disposal. Only 10 in the race, so they have to use them wisely. As we come towards turn 4, you want to brake just after the 100-meter board, getting as close as you can and even hitting the apex on the inside, but you've got to be incredibly careful due to the pogo effect on this car, so you've really got to tune out the dampers and the springs on it. As we come up towards turn 6 and 7 here, they follow in very quick succession. We're going to be taking it in third gear, getting close to the apex on turn 6 and just missing it on turn 7 as we come up towards turn 8. You want to gain a lot of time here by cutting the corner a little bit on the inside. Turn 9, you just got to thread it through very nicely, be very patient on the throttle as we come up towards turn 10. Again, this will be a second or first gear corner depending on how confident the driver will be on spinning the rear tyres. Permitting you get turn 10 right with not spinning the rear tyres too much. Turn 11 and 12 can really be effective in the race for getting a pass on the front straight. As we come towards turn 12, this is basically the final corner on the track. Of course, there's three little kinks coming after with turn 13 there and turn 14 just afterwards, but it's basically just a flat out run to the corner. Passes can definitely happen along this bit of the track. It's a very long straight. As we come to the start finish straight, we're going to keep it as close to the wall as we can. This will minimise the time lost, and that is a lap of the Interlagos circuit in the DW12.
And thereafter taking a look at what it's like to go around this technical course, I turn it over to Evan Pasoko for his thoughts going into this first event of a 19-race season.
Well, it was 1 week ago where we went racing at the 2-mile D-shaped oval of the Michigan International Speedway, Steve, and that was just practice. We saw a lot of excited racing. We saw the field get spread out. We're going to be bumping this one up 2.677 miles around this Interlagos track for the season opener, race 1 of 19 on this Rose IndyCar Series Season 1 live on Checkered Flag Interactive, and it's going to be a 58-lap affair here tonight. These guys running lap times in the practice session right in the range of about 1 minute and low teens. You got right now Alex Simpson gets the fastest time in the practice session by over a second compared to Andrew Woodhouse, who would be the second fastest in that practice session. And it's going to be an exciting one. This is where stuff starts to get serious, though. We got championship implications now. We got payouts. Top 5 going to be walking away with cash prizes at the end of every race, and it should be an exciting one, to say the least here.
And now, Evan, as these drivers get ready to head down onto the grid, this track at Interlagos in Brazil has been open since 1940. We have seen almost close to 100 years of racing at this track, and I mean, we see F1 here for the Brazilian Grand Prix, as well as the FIA World Endurance Championship. Both great races, and this track is just a lot of fun, and I don't know if you've ever gotten the chance to drive it yourself, but I know I have in the F1 car and the Indy car, and it is just a blast.
Yeah, coming in at 2.677 miles, there are 15 turns crammed into that small area. Very high-paced, and there's a lot of long straightaways. The backstretch there just out of turn number 3, going to be hitting about 180 miles an hour. Very fast-paced racing coming up, and we're about to get set to get this underway. So we will run you down through how they're going to start this race. No surprise that the man that was fastest in practice did take home the pole in qualifying, which took place earlier this evening. It was Alex Simpson Simpson. He's going to start for the number 1 spot as the field rolls. Jamie Rushworth in second, Andreas Werner third, Brandon Treno in 4th position, Michael DeJong in 5th, 6th to Miguel Martinez, Andrew Woodhouse 7th, 8th to Dennis Garis, Rocco Horvat going to be starting 9th, 10th to Cam Stark, George Nonjok's going to be starting 11th, 12th to Eric Davis, Michael Thompson 13th, 14th Laura Bond, Ella Stevens 15th, 16th to Carl Bunk, Steve Richardson in 17th, 18th is Richard Borkenhagen, Brendan Lichtenberg going to be 19th, 20th Barry Rowland, Dave Jinks 21st, 27th is Ron Uglanix, and Scott Smith is going to round out our 23 car field. The field is already grouped up behind the pace car, and pace car is going to get set to dive off here shortly, and we're going to be able to get this season officially now, Steve, underway.
And these drivers, after last week, they are all set and ready. They practiced all week long, got their setups tuned in, and now, as the pace car just goes around for this final time to start this race off, these drivers have all kinds of thoughts in their heads, and it's primarily focusing around, how do I make it around these first couple laps? Because here, the first time of the season, they've raced on a road course. Of course, it's the first race of the season. None of these drivers have dove into turn 1 together for official racing yet. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, they're going to have to go down into the Seta S there. Turns 1 and 2, a quick left and then right-hander. They're going to have to fill down and cycle into that small space and see if they can make it stick. The field rounds to corner number 15. Pace car heads down to pit road. Alex Simpson going to be in control of this field. Green flag in the air, and we're racing from Interlagos. Green flag as Alex Simpson's able to pull an early lead over Jamie Rushworth. They head now down at a 1 and 2. First battle for P2. A little bit of a challenge there. That is Brandon Treno on the inside.
Things looking good up at the front. Now we've got drivers 2 and 3 wide going for those corners right there. And we're looking at the back. Brandon Lichtenberg hanging on to dear life, almost going off the track there at the rear of the field.
Everybody now tries to fan themselves out some side by side, coming through quarter number 4, and everybody's able to make that one work. And now quickly this field has single filed out, at least for the time being. We do have a challenge for the top spot. Alex Simpson was able to get away on the drop of the initial green flag. Jamie Rushworth not giving that one up easily. That number 3 of Rushworth sitting out trouble for Andreas Werner. No, he's able to save it. It's Brandon Treno's out in the grass.
Ryan, wow, excuse me there, I got a car flipped over there in the back. I'm not sure who that is.
A lot of trouble on this second lap. There was Treno with the problem, and then one machine got actually turned around. That was Gary Borkenhagen. Caution flag is out. Again, race control has the ability to bring out that safety car, and they opt to do so. After that was contact with Gary Borkenhagen and actually Barry Rowland. They both made contact, and it was Borkenhagen who got turned around, and because of these open wheel, the left front tire of Borkenhagen's machine just got clipped, and he went up and over very quickly, slid out through the grass. That is not the way he wanted to start his season. He's actually back rolling right now as that thing landed back on the tires, but this is going to group everybody up in a race to lead that Alex Simpson was trying to get, which is interesting because you'll go into these road course races and most people might say, okay, we're not going to be getting any caution flags. With race control giving themselves the ability to throw a full course caution as opposed to just a zone caution with the cautions turned on, it can also change some of the strategy that you have to take, and we slow them down now behind the pace car.
And Evan, that's something you don't usually see, and pretty much you won't see it in most leagues. I know for a fact that the Pro Series, even last week, they were at Watkins Glen, and those pro drivers, of course, they are very good. You didn't have wrecks every single lap, nothing like that. Although there were drivers that got in situations where they got off track, got spun around, and there's no caution. So that's something a lot of these drivers don't see, because in any official series, that simply doesn't happen here on iRacing.
And that's going to be something that we need to keep an eye on all season to see, what kind of effect that is going to place on the drivers. Another driver that had some problems, we documented that, believe it may have been going through 9 and 8. It was Brandon Treno, who started in P4. That would have been the outside of that second row, and when the field was doubled up for the initial start of the race. And initially thought it was Andreas Werner, because both of those cars were relatively close together. Werner's car, the Mutual of Omaha machine, RC Cola on the side of his number number 11 DW12. The red made me think it was the Warner machine, but it was Brandon Trano. He went around just by himself. A self-spin caused, well, it wasn't really an incident, but it caused the machine there to go around, and then it was behind them actually where the contact initially happened that obviously sent Borkenhagen up and over. Not sure if that incident in front of them with Trano spinning out might have caused those guys to, check up a little bit or lose their focus on the guys next to them and see where that spinning car went, and, that could have possibly been something as well that led to that contact.
And definitely contact in these open wheel Indy cars is something you don't want to see. Luckily, I do know for a fact the way iRacing has the contact points, if you hit those side pods just right, and usually it won't even damage your car all that bad. But what we saw in that last incident where we saw him flip over Borkenhagen there, what happened is the contact points, they lined up just right. So where the contact didn't even damage his car all that much. He just ended up getting sent over into the wall.
And I mentioned he almost landed with those right side tires elevated on the tire barrier there up on the outside retaining wall. But the car's not all of that torn up. We got a couple of them bringing them down pit road. Borkenhagen is one of them. Just behind him, you have Dave Jinks in the pits, Eric Davis down pit road, as well as Rocco Horvath all down on the pit road. It looks like Rob Duglanix is also just now exiting the pit lane to come back out on track. Pit lane, there is a very fast and a high-speed straightaway before we get to where the start-finish line is. All the way coming out at turn number 12, you got a series of 3 slight left-handers, 13, 14, and 15. Pretty much a big straightaway on the front part of this racetrack. Very high speeds. Pit road lines up right out of that final corner, and then you come down pit road. I was taking a look at Alex Simpson. He is going down into the place that, again, pit road speed does not start until where you will see those green cones. The wall is there to start where pit road is. Alex Simpson probably slowed that thing down from about 170 miles an hour to 45 for pit road speed in that small area. So if we cycle through to the point that we will see green flag pit stops, watch for people to be really aggressive using whatever they can get out of these brakes, which are pretty good to save time on entry and as well as exit, throttling back up, getting out on track. It is a long access road before you can blend back out on the back.
And here, as the pace car lights are off, single file restarts here on these road courses for the DW12 Indy car. Alex Simpson still your leader after being able to hang out in front after a great start. Jamie Rushworth there in second, net number 3. Andreas Werner and Miguel Martinez in 4th, with Dennis Garis in 5th.
Saw those guys at the back of the pack. Some of them came in for damage repair. Some of them came in just for some tires as well. Again, there may have been a little bit more rubbing, beating, and banging per se back of the pack that we really didn't get a chance to get a clear look at. But a couple people pitting at the back of the pack, which is going to give them a little bit more fuel, which could pay due dividends later on in this race. This race is 58 laps in length, and you can go roughly 18 laps on a tank of fuel. So if you're pushing it, and it's possible, stretch it maybe 19, 20 laps on the tank, you can make this a 2-stop race, which I would anticipate some of our leaders to be stretching for. These caution flag periods going to be helping them out as well as they have an opportunity to save. You see right now we round at a quarter number 15 to pace car. Going to dive down behind that pit lane access wall, and Alex Simpson once again going to be in control of this field. He can go what he wants. Green flag in the air. Back underway we go. And from that single file restart, everybody starts to get cycled out. We got a couple guys too wide back in the pack as we cycle into one.
Most of the field still single file here due to that restart, but the front 2 pulled away there through those first couple corners. Look at the gap they've pulled.
They're able to get a good jump, and it was Alex Simpson who really was able to get a great start on the initial drop of the green flag. Jamie Rushworth stuck with him, but Simpson, again, he was faster than anybody else in practice by a second. So it's going to be a tough bill for Jamie Rushworth if he wants to be able to catch him, and Simpson starting to put some ground. Again, we talked to Simpson Alex, that was, after the P4 finish that he got at Michigan, and he is a pro road driver. So he's showing those skills right now as he sits right now in that top position. Rushworth just with him. Secondary pack nearly. You got Andreas Werner, who sits in the number 3 spot right now, just a little bit further behind of our top 2. He has Miguel Martinez, and that's a bobble. Andreas Werner going to go into a little bit of the runoff area that time.
And there is nothing wrong with using that runoff there, Evan. That is why it's there. And as we take a look at that secondary pack, you've got Kem Stark and that number 24. He's really coming on the back bumper, the number 16 going down this long front straightaway. Look for these drivers to be all the way down to that inside pit road wall. And now Cam Stark on the outside looking to get the apex there. Not going to be able to make the pass, but good battle for 5th right there on your screen.
This racetrack, very rhythm-based. The way the elevation changes work, the constant right then left-handers, it's very easy to kind of, you lose your momentum, you make one small mistake, and it's going to mess you up for a couple more sections. That 24 has gotten to the inside. He'll complete that pass on the 16 of Dennis Garis and move Cam Stark up to what is going to be a top 5 spot right now. This battle, however, I don't believe is over because Michael De Jong not too far behind this as well. 24 now slow. Look at the move to the inside by the 16, and we're going to be side by side off through the corner. This is the final couple of turns on this lap, and now if the spot back to Cam Stark, he takes it back.
And all 4 of those cars on your screen are just inches from each other going through these tight corners. These Indy cars just accelerate so incredibly fast. It's not like a GT3 or a Mustang, anything like it. I mean, these are just like F1 cars, and you don't see it in real life where they head here. And it's just so incredible to see the momentum that they're able to carry through these corners. They're going so fast, one slight move, and you're going to be out in the dirt and probably done if you find that wall.
The pass on the outside going to be completed by the number 5 of Michael De Jong. 188 miles per hour in that draft down the front straightaway. Was able to make the pass on Dennis Garis down in quarter number 1 on the outside, and now Dennis possibly trying to battle back as they head down through the corners here, and it is going to be that 5 who's able to get the advantage. Looked like that 16 of Dennis may have been able to take a peek to the inside, was unable to get that position by the time they hit the next set of quarters, and he will slide back just a little bit. Then that spot will go to the 5 car. Immediately behind him again, he can't really take a break. Andrew Woodhouse trying to get back up through the field to get where he started. He started in P7, sits right now in 8th, and he's going to try to close in on Dennis Garis, who was just in front of him. Brandon Treno, who was a top 5 car at the start of the race, he wants to get back up to those positions where he started as well. However, Alex Simpson right now, as I predicted, still the class of the field, 0.8 of a second over Jamie Rushworth, and the gap between 2nd and 3rd has grown from about 0.8 of a second, which is what it was initially after we went back green flag racing after our first and only caution so far in this race. Now 3.3 seconds these guys have over Andreas Werner, who's 3rd.
And I'm really watching Alex Simpson here, and he's not running very hard around these corners. He's really just taking it easy, running a very relaxed line. And then I look behind him, and his competition there is really hitting the apex, getting on those curbs, and I think at some point, these Indy cars have like a pogo stick effect. Once you get that suspension up off the ground, when your tires make contact again, I think primarily that's one of the biggest reasons these cars flip so easy. The suspension parts are just like a pogo stick.
That's why you'll see in some wrecks where, you know, the suspension's going to get damaged, and when those tires kind of pop back onto the asphalt, they'll just spring out of control, and it is very easy to get a bump off of one of those curbs there and kind of skid that thing across the racetrack. If you really get aggressive with it, overly aggressive, possibly, we'll say, well, Jamie Rushworth, he was actually able to make up time. The last time, it went from 0.8 of a second down to 7. We'll see an updated number this time. You see they actually ducked down below to where those white line is painted to signify the pit road entrance. Now it's going to go back up to 1.4, so Alex Simpson just nearly doubled his gap on that lap alone, and then Werner, Martinez, all these guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th on back, only continue to slide back. Really doesn't look like anybody has a challenge for Alex Simpson, and if everything works out fuel-wise for him, it should come down to possibly a 2-stop race, and no challenge from that. We do have a battle for position, though, in the pack.
Yeah, taking a look on your screen there, you just saw the number 35 get passed. They were bumper to bumper for the past 2 laps there, Evan, and it was getting intense. There was a slight tap coming off that final corner.
Andrew Woodhouse is another driver that finds himself at a big mess of cars. Just in front of him is Dennis Garis, and behind him is Brandon Traino. And Woodhouse tried to get that draft down that front straightaway and took a look to the inside, was unable to get a nose in on Dennis Garis' number 16 machine, so he backed out of it. He continues to sit right now in 8th position, so these cars 7th through 9th when you go Garis, Woodhouse, Traino respectively. They're all separated by only about a car length between each of them as they run right now, so it's very easy to make a mistake. You talked about a little bit of contact. The way that these corners, bam, you're in a left-hander, bam, you're in a right-hander, it's so fast, it's so consistently and momentum based that there's really not a lot of time to react if you make a mistake or if somebody makes a mistake around you. We got contact, the 4 is up and over.
And that's not good at all. He hits that outside retainer wall, still on his roof. He is not going to be flipping over, going to have to take a tow. No caution yet, back on pit road.
Just like that, they went side by side into the corner, and it looks like the 16 may have drove it in too hard because he wasn't quite down on that curbing that I think Woodhouse would have expected him to be. And when that 4 made his arc to get the corner, just got caught. Again, you talked about that point of contact where that right front of the 16 just caught the front of the left rear tire of that 4 car. Sent him right up and over, and really nothing in that situation that Andrew Woodhouse could have done to try to save that race car up and over, and unfortunately that did not land back on the tires, unlike we saw earlier in the race with Gary Borkenhagen, I believe it was, that went over. He was able to land back on the tires, come in for repairs. He's going to have to take a tow back to pit road, which is going to cost a whole lot of time to that Woodhouse machine, at least lose him a couple of laps, because that happened in turn 1, so it's going to give him nearly the maximum amount of tow time plus any repairs.
And now as we take a look for the lead, he's still got 2.5 over Jamie Rushworth there in 2nd. Right now Alex Simpson is just bringing it around this course, looking very, very, very momentous. I mean, I guess that would be the word to say, Evan. This course is just so momentum based, and he's hitting these corners at just the right angle, so he's able to have a maximum speed coming off of them, and it looks like he's just going out for a Sunday drive.
With the first part of this course, you come down that front stretch, you got the set of S, turns 1, 2, a quick left and right-hander, small, left-hand progressive corner there, and then you hit that long back straightaway where you're going to be approaching about 180 miles an hour without the draft alone. You know, you can kind of take a break there, and oh, we got a spinner right in front of Alex Simpson. That could have gotten ugly. Scott Smith is around. That is the Adidas Honda entry. He went into the corner, and back end just stepped out. He lost it, and good thing he cranked that wheel to the right, then he was able to back it into the grass, because if that was turned the other direction, he could have slid right back up in front of Alex Simpson.
And we pull up the replay on your screen there, and exactly what Evan said, that right rear just goes right around on him. He gets that wheel turned off of the course, right in front of the leaders though. Very tense moment right there, especially even for him trying to get back up on track. You saw that pack of cars go by, and that's where these drivers need to pick up the momentum to go around this front straightaway here.
So now I'll try to complete my point on the way this track is laid out, assuming nobody else wants to spin out and cause a heart attack for Alex Simpson. His momentum is strong, so momentous, if that's a word or not, we're going to use it here. You can separate turns 1 and 2 up, then you got a straightaway in the front, but really corners 5 through 14, that is a huge rhythm section almost, I guess you could call it. I mean, you go into 6 and 7, those are a left-hander, a left and 8, and then a left and 9. There's no break, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A lot of tracks, if you look at maybe like a Road at America per se, you got a section of corners, Steve, but you can almost divide them up as a driver, make a couple corners, you get a straightaway, you kind of readjust, you get prepared for the next section. You can do that in the first part, but there's going to be a lot of time lost and gained in that entire second half of the course, because there's really no break that these guys could have. You mess up one corner, it's going to affect you for the next 2-3 of them, because you got to be able to get your momentum back, you got to get your positioning back down, and that's why I think a guy with Alex Simpson, with things that he has, is why he's being so successful.
And there on your screen, Cam Stark just goes around in that first corner. He gives a tap to the back bumper of the number 3, and he sends himself around there. No damage on that number 24, so he will pick it back up and continue going. But we had a 3-car battle there for 6th and 5th place. Unfortunately for Cam, he drew the short end of the stick right there, and he went around, but no damage. Plenty of racing left here tonight.
Cam had a huge run on that number 5 who was in front of him. That's Michael De Jong. Not quite enough of a run to make a move. Went into the corner. I think the 5 just braked a little bit more abruptly than Cam had thought. You can see it there. The closing rate just got real fast into 1 and then the 24 to get on the brakes a little bit more. He spun it out, and actually now more trouble for him. Out there on track by himself. May have heated up those tires. Spins it out. He catches the outside tire barrier there. That's pretty significant left side damage on that 24. It's all torn up now.
Yeah, definitely what I said earlier about not having damage, I have to go back and say he's in trouble now. You can get the little bit of damage he had earlier fixed, if anything, because they could just pop a new nose on these cars. But once you bend that suspension and that side pod, you're going to lose considerable top speed and control over these cars. So we'll see how he manages these next couple laps there, as he's going to be letting Michael Thompson around him, it looks, pretty soon here. He's just not able to maintain the speed as he goes around again.
And it's around again. With that left suspension just torn, pretty much used all the way up. He went down into the corner, and he was actually giving Michael Thompson quite a challenge for it. And then the 24 went into the corner, and it's just unable to hook up with that damage. And the 24 car went back around, and you got to feel for Cam Stark. Started in 10th position, Steve. Actually, I believe he was our fastest or our biggest mover at that point. Had picked up 5 positions to get to a top 5 spot where he had sat at that moment. Now gets this damage, and because of the initial spin, kind of got out of the rhythm, made one more quick mistake. That's going to cause him damage, and now he's got a race car, and it's almost going around again, and it is. The 24 car with all of that suspension damage. He can't keep it on the racetrack. He may be forced to come down pit road here quite soon. If not, race control giving him a black flag for being a hazard out there to the other cars because he can't drive it with that damage. That car just won't stay planted to the pavement.
And as we take a look at that, we are 14 laps into this race, coming up on pit stops here within the next 3 to 5 laps, I would say, Evan. We're going to take this chance to head over to a quick commercial break as he goes around again on your screen. Do not go away. Checkered Flag Interactive's coverage of the Rose DW12 series here at Interlagos. We'll be right back.
Back live from the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We got a car around at quarter number 1, Andrew Woodhouse from 2 laps down. That machine that had just gone up and over a couple laps ago tried to go to the inside, spun that thing out, and caught the inside retaining wall. The nose on that car is done, and back to the pits, and I could imagine that may be the end of Andrew Woodhouse's night. Back up in the broadcast booth, Evan Pasoko and Steve Bonesteel after what really has been a wild opening portion of tonight's season opener of the Rose DW12 series, live on Checkered Flag Interactive. Alex Simpson, as you said, Steve, on cruise control right now. 13 seconds to the good over Miguel Martinez, who just spun out from second.
And he's in trouble there, right in a place you do not want to spin out, right in front of a group of cars. He's going to get that car back around, no damage to it, but that number 17, Miguel Martinez, he was up front for the majority of last week's preseason event at Michigan, Evan, and now he's struggling here as these tires really start to get wore out. You mentioned before the race that fuel will last you roughly 18 laps. Well, tires here will start to get wore out anywhere between 15 to 20, depending on how you've got it run. So I don't believe we'll see any drivers really taking 2 tires or anything throughout this race. We're going to have to see him. I mean, right there, that number 17, I have a feeling he was thinking about coming down pit road. I know for a fact he's going to have to very soon here, but we'll have to watch him closely as he's only fallen back to 4th. There are pretty large gaps between each group of cars. I mean, 18 seconds separate first and second, and then the only actual close battle on the track is for second and third, and that's separated by almost a full second.
And it was Jamie Rushworth who started second, and again, he was the driver that we saw was able to relatively stick with Alex Simpson, and then we noticed he was about 14 seconds back, found himself in 3rd spot. That is because when we were following that 24 machine documenting Cam Stark's troubles in 1, actually just before that incident, Jamie Rushworth also had a spin when he was too wide in the corner. He spun it down, didn't make any contact with the wall, just went out in the grass. That's what cost him time. That's what allowed Miguel Martinez to get through to second. And when I took a look at the 17, I was about to say he only had about a second over Jamie Rushworth, and then that number 3 machine was probably going to be challenging once again for the number 2 spot, and that's when that number 17 machine lost it. So Martinez now slides back to 4th. This moves now Dennis Garis up after starting 8th position. The number 16 machine entry, he's up now to a top 3 spot, and you got to look at this race again. If you're trying to stop it, or rather try to split it up into 2 stops, you're going to have to go about 19 laps average if you want to be able to make it 58 laps. That would also mean you're going to have to do 120 lap stint. If you're going to have to choose which one you're going to do it on, I'd say try to do the 20 on this because, Steve, they had the benefit of having those 2 laps of caution to save some fuel.
One thing I was just watching there, Jamie Rushworth really starting to struggle in those first couple of speed corners here. And I've got a feeling those right rear tires on these cars, there's a lot of sweeping right-hand corners here that will seem to wear out that right rear tire. And I just saw the number 3 get loose in front of that number 16 for 3rd there, and he almost ended up going around. So very shortly here, I expect to see these drivers starting to head down pit road, because I know they're getting low on fuel, and I bet they do want to make it as far as they can. However, those right rear tires are so crucial here. You saw what happened to Cam Stark. He went around once, tires got superheated, and before he even had the suspension damage, he just couldn't keep it on the track.
Carl Burke so far has been the only car to take it behind the wall. We sit with 12 cars on the lead lap right now. Last car on the lead lap is Ellis Stevens, who sits right now 1 minute and 7 seconds around. And we got Steve Smith with some trouble. That machine going to have a problem. He is 2 laps down. He finds himself out in the runoff area there. Going to try to get back out on track. Hope nobody is going to be flying by there at the high speeds. He's got 1 car closing in on him. That's going to be Dave Jinks. And Scott's going to yield high to allow Dave to get on by. Meanwhile, race leader Alex Simpson, working lap number 19, has yet to come down pit road. Expected to be probably this time, if not the next. Again, you're going to have to push one of these stints, about 20 laps, and then put off 2 19-lap stints on this fuel if you want to be able to cut it for 58. He's bringing it down right now. It looks, no, going to stay out. So he's going to try to push that for that 20 right now, which, again, I think is a good idea because they don't know if they're going to be able to get a caution in any of these other stints. We saw the caution on that opening stint, which gave these guys 2 laps to save. That's why the 14 machine, I think, is doing what he's doing.
And now on your screen, we're taking a look at the number 9 of Brandon Trano. He went around on that first lap. He was able to collect it there, and now it looks like he's starting to have a slight connection issue. It seems to have cleared up over the past couple laps there, but the number 5 was on his back bumper, really challenging him there for that 5th spot. And I'm really impressed with that number 5. He fell off at the beginning of the run, Evan, but now he's really starting to make a move towards the front of the field once again.
Again, he spun out there in that opening lap, didn't get himself a caution, was back around P9, P10, I believe, and doing a great job of working his way through. If anything, he's picking up quite a few spots as the guys in front of him starting to almost drop out of this race. This one's starting to turn in almost to a survival of the fittest, not a battle of attrition, because I believe that implies a lot of wrecking. These guys, although we have seen a handful of self-spins, a little bit of contact also, so far for the most part, a lot of clean and great racing so far. Alex Simpson really going to be pushing it. Lap 21 he goes on this tank of fuel. So, Steve, this is going to give him that benefit, and I like what he's doing. The longer you push it on this first stint, the shorter you're going to have to make those two secondary ones. Again, if you're going to be trying to do this on a two-stop strategy, which I do anticipate all the drivers to be doing, you can count it as a 3 if you're talking about some of the guys that may be topped off on that first stop, depending on what kind of strategy play they're on. But essentially, you're dividing this race up into a couple of thirds here.
Yeah, definitely, Evan, and I look back at the leader there, the number 14, Alex Simpson. He is on cruise control, starting to catch quite a bit of lap-down traffic here. Some of these drivers have just now recently come down pit road and have been battling him back. Times have not fallen off too much here in these Indy cars. There's a point where actually the laps will start to get quicker as the run goes on and fuel burns off. But then it's like it hits the plateau, Evan, and the laps just start to fall off slightly, ever so slightly, and then they really just kind of plateau once again at a certain point. And now as we look at the number 14, he's diving down pit road. Very clean entry. Right there's the mark where you have to be at the pit road speed limit. A lot of cars on pit road, though, Evan.
Alex Simpson, again, impressed. Not only him, but these guys as well. How aggressive they can be bringing that down pit road. He's going to now enter his stall. You see he passes through a couple of cars there that are still down for either tows and or repairs. The 14 goes up on the jack stand. All 4 tires can be changed at the same time. They're just waiting on getting that thing filled with fuel. Takes approximately 9 seconds to get that job done. He is back out and away. Jamie Rushworth now coming in from the number 2 spot. Miguel Martinez stays out from 3rd. That's going to move him up to 2nd. But even though he stayed out, Alex Simpson just now exiting pit road down that back straightaway, still in front of Miguel.
Yeah, he's actually 5 seconds in front of Miguel there, which is quite impressive. Pit stops here only lasting anywhere between 9 and 11 seconds there. Alex Simpson had a 10.2 there on that last pit stop, and even with that being said, Miguel Martinez has just not been able to really gain all that much time on him, and he's still got to make his pit stop. So right now, Alex Simpson, when he came down, he was over 15 seconds to that 2nd spot. He is in the hot seat right now. He does not want a caution, and while it's not very likely we'll get one because most of the field is separated, and I do believe it needs to be at least 2 cars involved or something along the lines of that, or blocking the track, I've got a feeling if it stays green, Alex Simpson, all he has to do is put it in cruise control.
Yeah, even if everybody stayed out, including the car at that time, 2nd place, Jamie Rushworth, even if Rushworth had stayed out that last time, I'm pretty sure Alex Simpson could have completed his stop, gotten back out on track, and still been in front of them. The interval that time at the start-finish line, 4 seconds between Alex Simpson and Miguel Martinez. Martinez stuck behind a little bit of lap traffic. Gary Borkenhagen goes to the inside to allow that 17 to get on through. But now that Alex Simpson's out there with fresh tires, expect him to start to put some time on that number 17 machine of Martinez, and impressed on how long he's been able to push this car. He did come down, he did not come down on that initial caution flag that we saw a couple of them. So this is proving there that the 17 machine, showing everybody that they're able to conserve some fuel a little bit, and you're able to really knock off a few laps. So I don't see any reason why any of these drivers should now have to do any more than the 2 stops. So they've completed the one. They just got to make it to around that lap 40 mark, and I believe that's where we're going to see the final stop start to come into play. But I mean, unless Alex Simpson really has an issue, and we predicted it last week, Steve, when we talked to him, finished 4th, and he said that he was very confident coming into this Interlagos circuit. Again, pro driver on the road side of things, and he's showing why. He's just so smooth in the corners. He's not attacking them. He's almost just letting the car turn through, letting the car do the work and just being very smooth, very consistent, which obviously is going to be very beneficial to his lap times. That time 1.3 seconds faster than that 17 car.
In fact, we just took a lap on board with Alex Simpson there. You saw his time on your screen. Very smooth around every single one of these corners. And one thing I would like to note, the corners that you watched in the lap around video, that the driver that did that noted you need to be careful around with the throttle. Alex Simpson did exactly what he needed to do. He drove as if there was an egg underneath of that foot, and he went around those corners and did not crack that egg, did not spin those rear tires, and he kept all four wheels firmly planted with traction to this surface.
Michael De Jong just now exiting pit road, and again you have to work on the access lane, which actually is on the inside all the way through corners number 1, corner 2, and you can only blend once you come out of 3 and you head down that back straightaway. So you do lose a lot of time, not only on the pit stop, which takes about 9-10 seconds to get 4 tires and fuel after a full run, but you do lose a lot of time on the access road as well. It is still Simpson by 5 seconds over Miguel Martinez, who has opted out to bring it down pit road from the number 2 spot, which is going to give Alex, once again, 23 seconds over the car who will move up to P2, Jamie Rushworth, as that car cycles at a quarter of 14 now through 15 and down the front straightaway. He will pass that 17 to Martinez as Miguel is getting service down in his stall.
And here as we approach halfway through this race, Checkered Flag Interactive is going to take a quick break once again and show you, if you missed it earlier, what it's like to make a lap around this very technical course.
We are then for a hot lap around the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in Brazil. We are driving the DW12 as we go up towards turn 1. You want to brake just after the 50 meter board, arcing with that car very nicely into turn 1, getting as close as you can to the apex. This will optimise the line for turn 2, as you'll be able to get on the throttle as soon as possible as you want to power through turn 3. Turn 3 to 4 could really be an optimal overtaking opportunity in the race, because obviously the drivers have pushed past to their disposal. Only 10 in the race, so they have to use them wisely. As we come towards turn 4, you want to brake just after the 100 meter board, get as close as you can, and even hitting the apex on the inside, but you've got to be incredibly careful due to the pogo effect on this car, so you've really got to tune out the dampers and the springs on it. As we come up towards turn 6 and 7 here, they follow in very quick succession. We're going to be taking it in third gear, getting close to the apex on turn 6 and just missing it on turn 7 as we come up towards turn 8. You want to gain a lot of time here by cutting the corner a little bit on the inside. Turn 9, you just got to thread it through very nicely, be very patient on the throttle as we come up towards turn 10. Again, this will be a second or first gear corner, depending on how confident the driver will be on spinning the rear tyres. Permitting you get turn 10 right with not spinning the rear tyres too much, turn 11 and 12 can really be effective in the race for getting a pass on the front straight. As we come towards turn 12, this is basically the final corner on the track. Of course, there's three little kinks coming after, with turn 13 there and turn 14 just afterwards, but it's basically just a flat out run to the corner. Passes can definitely happen along this bit of the track. It's a very, very long straight. As we come to the start finish straight, we're going to keep it as close to the wall as we can. This will minimise the time lost, and that is a lap of the Interlagos circuit in the DW12.
Back live here at Interlagos Circuit for the Rose DW12 Series Season 1 on Checkered Flag Interactive. The season opener just past the halfway point, and we had a whole mess of issues there as we were away on commercial break. It started with the 5 of Michael De Jong, had a self-spin after he went through corner number 1, got back out on track, and then it was Brandon Treno who was on the attack, and it was an aggressive move that I believe was coming through corner number 2. Fake tie, tried to go low and gave it too much wheel, spun that thing out, locked it up. He was able to keep it out of the tire barriers, but that did cost that number 9 car some significant time. Michael Thompson was able to get around him, as well as Rocco Horvath. So that leaves Michael De Jong up in what is currently scored as P4. Dennis Carisse is in third. Second still to Jamie Rushworth, and Alex Simpson continues to dominate this race. Only 8 cars remain on the lead lap at the moment. Last car on the lead lap is Ron Ugliniks, and we have quite a few of them, only 1 lap down, 19th through 15th, only sitting 1 lap down. Some of these guys that obviously no wave rounds in IndyCar, but if you're a Ugliniks, even a Treno, somebody that feels like they may be able to challenge for that top spot with Alex Simpson, if there's some sort of track position advantage given to them, they are still hoping for some sort of a caution flag to fly. Don't see that happening though, now that everybody's so spread out, and it appears that those are only going to be flying, Steve, for at least multi-car incidents.
Yes, Evan, for sure. And although we don't have any major packs of cars, we do have quite a few 2-car battles right there. Brandon Treno once again making his way around the number 13 of Michael Thompson there for 6th place. He sets his sights towards that number 21 sitting in 5th. So that's going to be interesting to see how that number 21 maintains that spot. He did have some issues under that commercial break. He did go off following a lap down car through off to the grass, and the number 5, Michael De Jong, he also had issues. So we look at those drivers right there, and it's going to be shaping up. I do have a feeling they're going to start to close in on each other, and we might even have 3, 4, 5 cars coming together as this race goes on.
And we just had major problems for the 17. Just caught this, but Miguel Martinez, Steve, who pitted from a top 3 spot, has wrecked it on the access road, leaving pit road. He is done. And I was going to mention it when I was talking about it, but I didn't really anticipate it happening. Through that access road, when you come out of pit road, that you got to cycle through corners 1, 2, and 3 with blend out on the backstretch. There is grass on either side. The 17 just caught it. And very unforgiving. This is back on lap 25. Not sure if we can get it up on a replay. That thing went around nose first into the Armco barrier there. Heavy front end damage on that machine. And Miguel, because he was, again, just out of pit road, felt like he would have been unable to drive that thing all the way around this 2.677 mile circuit to get back to pit road. He took a tow, and since then has actually just taken it behind the wall. That team has officially retired from this race. Do anticipate that to slide him back to about 18th position, which would leave us with just under 17 cars still left, at least on track.
Yeah, Evan, trying to pull the replay up, it was so far back. Just now catching the tail end of his pit stop. We'll pull it up, take a look at what happened there.
And again, it was just one of those things where you're trying to get as much time as you can. You do lose a lot of time leaving and entering pit road as well, and just barely overdrove it. And that thing, again, instantly went right around nose first, lost the front wing of that machine, and then again just stopping to take the iRacing tow back to his stall. That's not the first time tonight that we've seen somebody get issues, and because, again, it's just at the end of pit road, the symbol determined the time your tow takes, which is when you escape out to the time it'll let you get back on track based on the distance. So if you were in, corner 15 right before pit road entry, not going to be that long, but because all of these incidents happening just about turn 1 or so, really seems to be the calamity corner tonight. Anybody that's been taking a tow has had to wait at least a significant amount of time.
As we head up and take a look at Alex Simpson, your leader, he continues to take the rest of the field to class here, and definitely showing exactly why he has a pro license here on iRacing. That number 14 took the lead. He started in the lead in the first place. He never even came close to losing it, aside from the 2 restarts we've had this race. And Alex Simpson has been very, very consistent each and every lap, and I don't know if momentous is a word, and if one of the people watching at home want to look it up and send us a chat on Twitch and let us know, feel free to do so, but he looks momentous going around this track. Past halfway here, things are looking pretty strong for that number 14 as long as nothing goes wrong.
And it is very easy to make a mistake. I know Alex in the 30-minute warm-up, and that was actually just after qualifying. I want to take a quick note to talk about what the road qualifying is like, because we briefly talked about the oval procedures, which is 2-lap closed qualifying. That was last week at Michigan, which was our season, preseason thunder per se, not for points, just really bragging rights. But the road qualifying is quite an interesting thing. It does not happen immediately before the race. It's in a separate session, just about an hour beforehand. It's a 45-minute total long session. What happens is they take this field and you're going to divide it into two groups. So one half of the field is going to go out for 10 minutes at a time. So looking at this, about 1 minute 14, 1 minute 13 second lap times, going to give them a couple of opportunities to get down a hot lap. Then the second group will go. Then at that point, they're going to take the fastest 9 drivers, allow them to go back out on track for another 10 minutes, and then put down those times, and then that's how positions 1 through 9 will be determined, and then the drivers that did not get a chance to be fast 9, 10th on back, their original times that they posted in those first 2 attempts at qualifying will count as their time. So cool to see that, although it's not an official feature at iRacing. Nice to see that these guys are trying to follow suit with the IndyCar series.
One more thing I would like to note there, we only have 5 cars on the lead lap now. With the number 21, he is in trouble if he wants to stay on the lead lap. He really needs a caution, and it's like we've already said, it's not going to happen. He's got to catch up to De Jong in front of him, and I don't even think he's going to be able to do that. He's just having a very hard time maintaining that speed, and really, Evan, what's really hurt most of these drivers is the fact that he's spun out. And I don't think he's spun out more than once, but a lot of these drivers in even the top 5 have gone around off track at least 2 or 3 times.
Because of that, that's not only going to cost them 5 seconds to get back on track, they lose all that speed. And we've talked about so many times how it's such a rhythmic track. You need so much momentum that it really hurts you. We did have a car just go around in front of our race leader. It was Dave Jinks. Jinks just went around. He locked him out. He went out into the sand. Hearing another car may have had some issues. Gary Borkenhagen, quite possibly, and that machine is down on pit road for an earlier incident, but Jinx did go around and he went off track. No harm, no foul. But again, it's right, Alex Simpson has been perfect tonight. Everybody else, although they're running good lap times, the last time by for comparison, Simpson with a 14.2, second place with a 15.1. So although he's a second faster, the gap wouldn't be as big if either of these guys hadn't made those mistakes or Alex Simpson wasn't just so much more perfect than the rest of the field so far.
And now you can start to see those lap down cars in front of him. And you really got to think Alex Simpson, he doesn't even need to really pass these cars. And I don't even think he's pushing that hard. A lot of times you'll see leaders, when they get that big lead, Evan, they will push their car, they will prove their point simply to do so. And I think Alex Simpson here, he's not even pushing that car as hard as he could. I think he's just running, like we've said earlier on, in cruise control around this track.
And this is going to be a series that is split evenly with an equal amount of road and an equal amount of oval races. Officially, there are 10 of each, however, counted as 9, if you will, because one of our oval events, which is for points, is the Indy 500 qualifier weekend. That comes up later on in the season. Next race on the schedule, 1 week's time. That one going to be at the Homestead Miami Speedway for 186 laps at that 1.5-mile oval as well. So essentially almost alternating back and forth. Coming up, we got Homestead. Then you got 2 road courses, Road America, Sebring, back to Iowa on the ovals. Then you got Barber, and then 2 ovals, Pocono, Milwaukee. A very diverse schedule, which is really going to test these guys. Alex Simpson may dominate on the road side of things, but if he's not able to continuously put together solid finishes on the ovals and P4s all year long like he got last week at Michigan, would definitely get the job done. But you can't just dominate at one and really slack on the other if you want to walk away with the championship, which, by the way, is quite a nice set of stuff that's up for grabs in this series.
Very impressive prizes all season long. payouts each race for the top 5, and for an inaugural season, for the first season, those are very incredible prizes. These drivers did have to pay an entry fee to get into this series, but what that does is that makes sure truly those that are committed make their way in, and those who really know what they're doing are going to produce the great racing. They're the ones that are going to show up to make it happen.
There are 25 full-time drivers. Believe they may have modified that to 28 full-time, but initially it was 25 full-time drivers, and then there would be 5 part-time slots, one for oval and one section as well for road. For drivers that didn't have to pay the full entry fee, they'd pay half the price as the other drivers because they're divided evenly, the amount of events for points that are on each kind of track, and then they would be able to not really battle for the points championship, but be able to come out and run with the track that they feel more confident on. But it forces guys into a spot where, hey, you may feel better at the road courses, you got to work on your oval skills. You feel better on the ovals, you got to work on your road skills. And really, these kind of tracks, there's a lot of people that can do both. But for somebody that may, specifically race primarily on one, these style of races are so much very different beasts. On oval, you're more racing the other cars, working the immediate draft, track position, all that kind of stuff, as opposed to these road courses, where really you're just racing the track and trying to fight it like that.
And Evan, I've got good news for those of you at home that want to know if our usage of momentous is real or not. While it is a real word, for sure, I don't think we're quite using it exactly how it was intended to, but racing fans alike can probably get the idea, get the parallel we're making.
They get the gist of it. It works.
Yeah, momentous, of great or far-reaching importance or consequence. So, while it's not exactly any consequence, I guess he's being momentous because he's doing so simply great, and it's showing a pretty big consequence for the other drivers that are just not able to keep up with him here tonight.
It gets the point across. The 14 still getting the job done. We're now closing into the point where he's going to be starting to consider when he will make that final pit stop. Again, really not as much of an importance as if there was a car 3 seconds behind him, and you might short pit a little bit or even try to stretch this run out and use that final set of sticker tires you put on this machine for that final run. Try to make that run as short as possible. Maybe do a little bit of different fuel calculations, put a little bit less fuel in it depending on how you like that car. Anything like that, because we have seen 23 laps with a caution these guys be able to push, so possibly 21, 22 under all green flag conditions if you're really conserving fuel and you're not, slamming on the gas. Which another thing is, a lot of guys are going to go into the corner, they'll get hard on the brakes, and then bam, right back to the throttle. The 14's really been rolling into it. He's been really working that throttle control, the rhythm on those pedals as well, which has been another thing that's been leading to his success. We now fall down to only 3 cars on the lead lap. Simpson, Rushworth, and Gary separated by 35 seconds between first and second, and 55 seconds between third and first. So that means if we continue to go at the rate we will, Dennis Garis may be in a risk of losing his lead lap if Alex Simpson can keep up the pace for the final about 22 laps as he took that time by. I do believe we have 15 cars still in action right now. A handful of them are multiple laps down. 4th through 12th are 1 lap down. 2 laps down in 13th, you got George Nonjocks, and in 14th position, 3 laps down, is Dave Jinks. Laura Bond, I do believe, is the last car on track. We do have a couple drivers that are not officially retired, but they are on pit road and they are not in the car. They're out in the garage area somewhere, so we'll let you know who has fallen out so far. Right now, 16th position is Gary Borkenhagen. He is no longer in that machine. It still sits on pit road. Miguel Martinez, they have actually brought that one back to the trailer. They have almost got everything loaded up and headed off for the weekend. They're done. It's going to be a 17th place result for the 17 team. The 24 of Cam Stark, that machine's still on pit road, but he's not behind the wheel of it, so they're going to come home with an 18th place result. 19th is Scott Smith. That's another car that they've taken behind the wall. They are officially retired from this. Andreas Werner, his car still sits on pit road, probably just taking in all the action. He'll get a P20 result. He is out of the race. 21st as well. Andrew Woodhouse is essentially done. Brandon Lichtenberg is done as well. He's 22nd. And then 23rd is Carl Burke, who is also retired from the sim here as well. But I mean, with only 3 cars on the lead lap, it is a testament to how strong and how fast Alex Simpson has been all race.
And this is really going to make a lot of drivers think, Evan, what do I do to step it up so that next time we go to a road course, I can be up there, I can compete with this driver? How do I make sure my season doesn't lose steam, lose hope early on? Because if it's the case where Alex Simpson comes to these road courses and finishes top 3 on the podium each and every time, these drivers really got to step it up in order to make sure that they also finish up there on the podium, so then when we go to the ovals, they have a chance of maybe Alex Simpson not being as strong there, although he was very consistent last week, coming away with 4th, and he could have done better. He just didn't have the position on track to do so. So, these drivers got to think, what can I do better here? How can I figure something out? And is there even some type of strategy I can use that might be able to help me stay up towards the top 5 in these road courses races?
Yeah, but this season being 19 races in length, you can essentially determine that out of tonight's race, we're only going to be 5% through this season. And obviously the IndyCar Series, there's no sort of strange championship format. It's straight up points all the way through. They do have a couple of double points events. They're triple crown races, which are going to be full distance. There's a couple of night races as well mixed in there, which is always going to be exciting when you put these things out there under the lights, especially on those ovals. First tracks that come to mind, Fontana, obviously Auto Club Speedway, a very exciting one, which is quite similar to Michigan that we kind of got a sneak preview of last week in our little preseason Thunder race, we'll call it. But you got to be smooth all year long, and although it's only race 1, I think it's not too early to possibly be calling Alex Simpson one of our favorites and one of those top runners that we should probably see here come when we get to those latter stages. Sonoma, California, 2 road courses to close off the year. I think that plays right into his wheelhouse.
And now it's time to know, Evan, we only have 1 car aside from our leader Alex Simpson left on the lead lap, and that is Jamie Rushworth there, who is in second place, 50 seconds behind our leader. I mean, unless there is a caution, there is simply no way he can really make it up there unless something happens to Alex, and I don't foresee that happening, Evan. So right now, Jamie Rushworth has to basically have that ideal in his head that I'm out here, I'm in second, while the leader is a long ways away, I am still in the podium position. This is still a great finish for me. I don't need to push it too hard and potentially lose that second place finish.
The thing that I find crazy is the lap that Alex Simpson just put down, Steve, on old tires is faster than anybody else put down in the whole practice session. And again, he got the 13.9. Second fastest in practice was a 14.8 by Andrew Woodhouse. He just put down a 13.9 on about 15, 16 lap old tires. Jamie Rushworth coming down from second spot. He was about 53 seconds back, and he comes in at the lap 42 point. That's going to be, and he has about 16, 17 lap on that final stint of tires. So he comes into his stall, and I talked about Alex Simpson, if he would come in early, come in later. He's now going to bring it down pit road as he comes through corner number 15, slows it down a little bit more conservative that time, knowing that he's got a big lead to work with. He just cannot make any sort of major mistake. A speeding penalty would definitely hurt him in that regard, so takes it easy. He's going to bring it into his stall, and the top 2 cars just now on pit road together. Jamie Rushworth leaving as Alex Simpson in front of him getting his service done.
And there, Rushworth is off of pit road. Good exit on that last little bit of the pit road wall there. Like you said, that little part of the course, especially on pit road exit, can really send you for a loop because you're just coming off of pit road. You have about 10 seconds to take a breather, and those 10 seconds you get back out there, you've broken your rhythm. Even if your hands are around the wheel and you didn't let up a tiny bit, that momentum that you had coming in, the rhythm is broken, and you've got to be careful not to push it too hard. I know for myself, the 2.4 hour race last year, about 20 minutes left, I was in the lead by over a full lap. I blew it coming off that exit road, and I ended up plowing into the wall and rolling over. These drivers out here, the top 5, the top 10, every single one of them, they cannot make that mistake. And now with this final pit stop, here for all of the drivers within the next couple laps, they need to keep that in the back of their mind.
Yeah, Rushworth will remain second. The gap going to be 1:17. Again, scoring still needs to cycle through an update as Alex Simpson now comes through the final set of corners through 14, coming through 15. Rushworth already going down the back straightaway at a 3. So expect that gap to possibly close in just a little bit on those lap counters here once Rushworth comes back through the scoring loop again, right on pit road as it typically is, and can cause a little bit of jumbled up interval times there as everybody cycles through. 4 cars have gone to the lead lap. Michael De Jong is one of them because he had not pitted. He just now exits pit road and completed his service. Dennis Garis is now a lead lap car. Once again, he pitted back on lap number 40. So he has also completed his final stop on pit road. He's good for fuel and tires till the end of this race, and do anticipate him to possibly lose that lap once again. Alex Simpson is behind these guys just by a handful of seconds. Again, we'll get an accurate number on it once the intervals come back out, but Alex Simpson back behind some of these guys that if he wants to get back up through them, he's going to have to work by them, which, although some of these guys may try to give him room and be try to stay out of the way, you're never 100% safe when you're trying to get around somebody. You could have some sort of a netcode issue. You could just have some sort of a bobble make contact. So you got to be real careful if you're Alex Simpson, not trying to force the issue, putting some of these guys back down a lap.
And what you were mentioning before he hit pit road, he was running those really fast laps around this course. It's like I said under that first run, you will kind of plateau after a while. Your tires won't fall off as much, and through that first little portion of the run, as you burn fuel off and you kind of wear your tires in, what really happens for these Indy cars, the first 2 or 3 laps, where it would be in a NASCAR in an oval, or even on a road course in a NASCAR, those would be your fastest laps most of the time. Here in these Indy cars, once you burn off those fuel, that allows you to take the corners a little more aggressive. Once the tires heat up, you don't have to worry about hitting the gas and really rolling onto it as if you would if you were on cold wore-out tires. So these drivers, about 3 to 5 laps in, are able to really pull out some really incredible lap times as the fuel burns off and the tires wear in. And I think that's been the case all race long for Alex Simpson, just being so very, very consistent through each and every run.
I have just seen I don't even want to say wildest flip of old time. Michael De Jong left pit road, Steve, and we got to get this on replay. Left pit road, and just as he blended back up on track, had to go through corner, I want to say that was corner number 4 that he was cycling through, got sideways, overcorrected, spun out into the runoff area there, and locked up the brakes, and not sure if there's more grip out there than on the racetrack, but he locked up the brakes and that thing slid sideways. The left side tires just hooked up, and he literally just slowly rolled over onto his lid, and his race was done just like that. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
And we just now got it back up on replay, taking a look. He's on the pit exit road, coming off, looking pretty solid there, and he's still making his way back out, trying to blend back up out of the course. No problems, not yet at least. We know they're coming after Evan said that right there. He goes through this corner, starts to bobble, goes off there, and around he goes, over onto his lid. That's crazy.
Just locked up the tires and they gripped on the outer edge and just sent him right over, and that is a first. I've never seen somebody flip over from locking up the brakes and just slowly going up on their lid like that. But what a tough break for Michael De Jong. Probably not too happy with the way the physics worked on that one.
Yeah, we took a look in the cockpit there. Definitely, he was not going any faster than probably 20 to 40 miles an hour, even slower than that, I guess, considering he was sliding sideways. So definitely a tough break, and iRacing there, I know for a fact they've had some issues with weight transfer when it comes to the cars with the higher profile and not open wheel like the Porsche rough cars. They, when they first came out, I don't know if you ever saw it, but when they'd go around the really tight hairpins with momentum, the suspension roll would be so crazy the cars would just simply roll over. It's happened to me quite a few times, and that seems to be something maybe not so quite similar, but the same idea at least.
Well, there's a first time for everything, and we just saw a car roll over. I mean, it didn't even start to go over until it was going like 5-10 miles an hour. Nonetheless, doesn't change the fact that that's going to cycle Michael DeJong all the way back. I expect Dave Jinks to be able to pass him, obviously, because he's taking it behind the wall. So as long as Dave Jinks and Laura Bond are able to knock off about 2 more laps, that's going to cycle that number 5 out from a top 5 spot to 15th, which takes him out of one of those payout positions and going to cost him a lot in the points. Again, top 5 walking away with the cash prizes tonight. Leader and the guy that takes home the checkered flag, $30 when it's all said and done. $20 to second, and in second through fifth are the $5 difference, the increments there. So third gets 15, 10 to fourth, and $5 to fifth position as well. But I guess we got to give some sort of battle of attrition award to Jamie Rushworth, because he's the only one that's been able to hang on to the lead lap, and that's still kind of in jeopardy as long as he doesn't lose 20 seconds in these next 10 or so laps or have any sort of an issue. I think he will finish on the lead lap, but again, you just can't say enough and don't want to keep bringing it up, but Alex Simpson has just done a masterful job this whole race. Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, Evan, for sure, and he's definitely going to be proud of that, and he's definitely just showing exactly why he is where he is here on iRacing. I know I've been trying to chase the pro license. I actually was getting pretty close there. I was starting to figure it out, and then I just started finding drivers that I didn't think drivers were really that good. Well, the Pro Series drivers, they're just simply good. They practice all the time. They have it in their blood. Racing's not something they have to learn. It just comes natural. As we have 10 laps to go, though, Checkered Flag Interactive will take its last commercial break under green flag here. Do not go away. Evan Pasoko, Steve Bonesteel will return for the finish here at Interlagos for the first of 19 races for the Rose DW12 IndyCar Series.
Back live from the Interlagos circuit, where it continues to be the Alex Simpson show. Now a minute to the good over the only other car in the lead lap. Second place, Jamie Rushworth. That number 3 car started there, and he sits there right now. So basically, the top 2 are exactly where they started this race, and no surprises from how Alex Simpson has been so strong tonight, but I don't think we expected the level of dominance. He is now within the final 10 laps, and really on the final race here, down to that checkered flag, he's have no issues getting around everybody. Lots of these drivers giving him tons of room. He was able to get around Ellis Stevens, and now Barry Rowland pulls over, lets him on by. Clear sailing, it appears, for that 14 team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if he didn't have it locked up 10 laps ago, he definitely, as long as he's smooth, hits his mark each and every lap, he has it locked up now. I mean, this Interlagos circuit here, it really is a momentum course, as we've mentioned all night long. And I don't think I've seen a single time where Alex Simpson has not had the momentum with him.
Picks up yet again another 2 seconds nearly. That time by increases the gap to 1 minute and 2 seconds. And if this race was double the length, I think he'd finish as the only car on the lead lap. And not that Jamie Rushworth is off pace. That 3 car is probably the second fastest car in the field, running down in the 15 seconds. Everybody else running 1:16s, 1:17s, 1:18s. But Alex Simpson, and I guess Jamie Rushworth as well, essentially in a league of their own with the lap times that they are knocking off right now. Alex Simpson working lap number 52 of 58 here, still out in front. They have all completed their pit stops. They went with the 2-stop strategy on pit road, 4 tires and fuel each time, so everybody should be good. Did not see anybody any sort of crazy short pit strategy, so everybody should be good from here on out to the checkered flag, unless we get a couple guys with damage. Eric Davis just now in front of Alex Simpson. They're communicating over the radio, planning on how that 65, who sits 7th place 1 lap down, is going to let Alex Simpson go on by, and a little bit close there as they rounded 15, and now Eric Davis is able to stay low, allow Alex Simpson to go on by. And the idea behind this is if you let somebody go, maybe they'll catch you a break or cut you a break later on in the year. You don't want to be out there and making any enemies on that first race, because if half the field out there wants to run you over, you're not going to be able to really battle for the championship. And they say open wheel racing is a gentleman's sport.
Taking a moment to catch you guys back up. Our top 5 as it 6. Alex Simpson is first, of course. Jamie Rushworth still sitting in second, 62 seconds behind the leader here. Dennis Garis is in third. Rocco Horvath is in 4th. And then Brandon Trano is rounding out your top 5 there. And as we take a look at that, I mean, that has been pretty much how it's been since the drop of the green flag. I mean, we don't even really have any battles on the track from anyone, really.
Everybody is so spread out. I believe we have now been cut down to having only 14 cars on the lead lap, or rather 14 cars actually on track at the moment. So the cars that are still out there running as in order, 1st through 14th, go Alex Simpson, Jamie Rushworth, Dennis Garis, Rocco Horvath, Brandon Trano, Michael Thompson, Eric Davis, Barry Rowland, Ellis Stevens, Steve Richardson, Rob Ugleinix, George Nodjoks, Dave Jinks, and Laura Bond are the cars that are at least still out there on track. I do anticipate a lot of those names to be front runners in 1 week's time when we go back to the Oval, but it is a quite extreme difference between going back and forth between the ovals and the road courses. These are probably, though, some of the better cars that if you have to go on a road course with. These DW12s can use a lot of power at these road courses. I know it's one of my favorite road cars. There's a lot of grip to them, and they really are nice and smooth on these racetracks, especially these nice paved road circuits like we have here at Interlagos. I said I would say the full name once, so it is the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, I believe is how it is pronounced, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We talked about earlier on, this racetrack plays host to the FIA Formula One Brazilian Grand Prix, as well as the FIA World Endurance Championship, the 6 hours of Sao Paulo. I believe that was actually just last weekend when that event took place. So a very historic racetrack. It's the first opportunity that I've had to be able to watch a race at this track on the sim, and it is a beautiful facility. This racetrack used to be over 4 miles in length back in 1936 to 1989. The current circuit sits right now, as we said, 2.677 miles.
Let's just take a moment and go up from above to take a look at how Alex Simpson makes his way around this course. We took a look at his right front suspension there, and that was pretty interesting. A good camera angle just to view how smooth he is. He's hit the same contact points on every single corner pretty much for the past 20 laps. And as we go above, you can hear the engine in the background there. He's not even revving it all that hard on the corners. He doesn't have to. Once he gets up onto the straightaway, smooth sailing there. No pressure from behind as the blimp just takes a look. He's not even cutting down as close to the pit road wall as he really could. And, I mean, it only cuts off maybe 0.5 of a second doing that. But he's not pushing it as hard as he needs to because he simply knows he doesn't need to.
Down the front straightaway and 3 laps to go. Now for Alex Simpson, who just continues to work as strong as he does. He now cycles down the back stretch, heads into corner number 4. All these turns do have names. I'm not even going to give those a shot because my Portuguese pronunciation really is not all that on point. So we'll just continue to go with the turn numbers. But this racetrack is, again, 15 turns in length. It's quite a substantial number to pack into about a minute and 15-second lap time. Again, we talked about earlier how the beginning half of that track with the 2 long straightaways, the front as well as the back, have the set of S's there, 1 and 2, as well as the progressive left-hander before you hit the backstretch. And then it's the second half of the course that we're taking a look at Alex Simpson just complete now. That really is the major rhythm section. He now comes down that very long, very high-speed front straightaway, 180 miles an hour there as he cycles through that final left curve, corner number 15, and then tops it off at 190 miles per hour with no draft down into quarter number 1. Very fast speeds, and it is very easy to make a mistake at those kind of speeds as well, but the 14 continues to be picture perfect. He takes 2 to go.
Yeah, he's got 2 to go, but it's going to feel like a very long 2 laps. I always know no matter how far ahead I am, if I'm in the lead, it's coming down to the end.